Alright, so we're going to continue on with this chapter 2, book 2 on how to draw an isometric. We did all the settings. So here's all of our settings. We talked about turning on our ISO draft, so we have the green and red cursor, commands that don't work. We're going to talk about those commands that do work. So I'm going to start a new file. So I'm going to go to the A, New, and down here in the Open area, I'm going to arrow down, choose Open with No Template Imperial. And here's our blank file. So commands that work. First thing we need to do is set up our drawing file. So we're going to come down to the bottom of the screen and we're going to choose the ortho mode. We're going to choose our ISO draft. And we're going to make sure our O-snaps are turned on. Notice my cursor's in that green and red color and it's at an angle. So we're going to go in the line command. We're going to just create a little box. So I'm going to pick a point. I'm going to go across and type in the number 2, enter. We'll go up, type in 2, enter. We'll go across, 2, enter, and back down. So essentially we've created a square. We'll enter to end the command. We've created a square in this left isoplane. So you can see we're in the left isoplane. And it's a 2 by 2 square. So we want to create what will look like a cube. So I'm going to go back in the line command, pick this one. I want my cursor to go this way. So I'm going to use the F5 key to flip my line. Notice how it follows my cursor now. Type in 2, enter. It's going to go this way, 2, enter, and then back here to our end point, enter. We're going to go back in the line command, and at that corner there we want our line to go down. So I'm going to flip my cursor, 2, enter, and then back here to the end point. So you see what we have now on the screen. It looks like we have this solid cube. However, that cube's not really solid. Think of it kind of as just these individual lines that are making up that picture. One thing we want to be careful of when we're doing isometric drawings is it's very easy for us to have it look like an optical illusion. And one way that that happens, and I'll show you, so I'm going to copy some lines here. I'll copy this front line from this corner back to that corner, and I'm going to copy this line here from our front corner to the back corner, and then I'm going to copy this line here from the front corner to that back corner. So now when you look at it, it looks like a little pizza. I got 6 little triangles in there, or it looks kind of like a Trivial Pursuit game piece. If you look at it, sometimes if you turn your head a little bit, it'll look like it's a hollow cube. Have you ever sat around doodling and you kind of doodled out that little cube? That's kind of what it looks like. So we need to be careful when we're drawing these isometric drawings that we're paying attention to where our lines are and what lines belong to what plane and where they belong to. So I'm going to delete those 3 lines and we're back to what kind of looks like our solid cube. However, I want to create a circle on the surface of this solid cube, and I need to find the midpoint of this space. So I need to find the center of this space. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw a line, and instead of drawing a line from here to here, which will give us that optical illusion, I'm going to draw a line from here to here. And notice I didn't have to change my cursor direction because the O-snaps will override what plane my cursor's laying in. So I pressed enter to end the command. I'm going to draw a line from this corner to this corner. I'm going to pick that corner again and go up to this corner. So now I have a line here that's going to help me find the midpoint of each of those planes. So now we're going to practice doing that iso circle. So we're going to go to the ellipse command, it's right here, and we're going to arrow down. You cannot use that first option, it won't show us the iso circle, so we're going to choose the second one, and once I choose it from here, that's the one that's going to stay here as my icon, so I don't have to arrow down every time to use it. So this is why it's important that we read our command line, and we've talked about this multiple times. Now we're going to come to the command line and choose our iso circle. You can also type the letter I. So I'm going to choose the iso circle. It asks me to specify the center. So we'll start here and find the midpoint of that line. And then it's going to ask me to do the radius, or I can type in a diameter. So in this case, I want the iso circle to be the whole size of that side, so I can pick the midpoint of any one of these outside edges. And there's my ellipse. Notice my cursor was laying in that same plane, and my ellipse kind of goes from this bottom corner up here towards the top. So we'll do that ellipse again. This time we'll pick the midpoint of this one, and notice when I go to draw, sorry I didn't pick the iso circle. So we're going to ellipse, pick the iso circle, pick the midpoint. Notice when we go to draw, that iso circle shows up, however it's not in the right plane. So we're going to flip the cursor to F5, and we'll go up and pick that midpoint. We'll do it one more time for the top plane. Again, I'm going to pick that midpoint. Notice when I drag out, it gives me this little kind of orange dotted line. That means I did not pick the iso circle command correctly. So escape, ellipse, go to the bottom, choose iso circle, pick the midpoint. Now notice how the iso circle shows up. F5 to change my plane, and I'm going to go to the midpoint of one of those lines. So you can see this top isoplane, that egg or ellipse is kind of laying horizontally. On this left isoplane, it's laying from the bottom to the top, and on the right, again, from the bottom to the top. So we'll do one more set of iso circles, and this time we'll pick the center of that iso circle, and we'll choose the diameter, and we'll set the diameter at 1. Enter. We'll do the iso circle, pick the midpoint or center of the iso circle that's there, flip the cursor so it's laying down in the right direction. Didn't select iso circle, midpoint. We're going to choose diameter, type in 1, enter. Ellipse, iso circle, pick the midpoint, flip the cursor, choose diameter, type in 1. So now we got all these little iso circles and all the large iso circles. So now I want to show you how to create, say, a cylinder. So what I'm going to do, since I already have this drawn, I'm going to do a copy. And we'll copy all of that. And I'm going to copy it from there. And notice when I go to copy it, it's going to copy it in the direction of my iso plane. So I don't want to do that, so I'm going to turn my iso draft off. I'm going to go in the copy again, click my mouse button, let go of it, click my mouse button to select it, enter, pick that corner, and I'm going to drag it over here horizontally, and then enter. I'm going to pan that over, and then I'm going to go back down to the bottom of my screen and choose that iso draft. This time I'm going to keep that top one, so I'm going to delete these iso circles on the side and the lines. So I have just that plain box. And actually I can delete this line on the top too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a copy, and I'm going to copy this outside iso circle, and I can copy it from this corner to this corner, this corner to this corner, or this one to this one. I can pick any corner that is in the same relationship to this plane as it is to the plane on the bottom. So I don't have to draw another line on the bottom. So we'll pick here, and then we'll pick down there. Then I'm going to create a line, and I'm going to pick this quadrant point, and I'm going to drag it straight down. I'm going to do another line, pick the quadrant, so I'm typing in QUA for quadrant, then enter, pick, and drag straight down. Now I can also go over here and choose my quadrant to turn on, so I don't have to type it. Either way should work. Sometimes it doesn't always find the quadrant for us. So then what I need to do is I need to trim. So I'm going to do a TR, enter, enter to select all, and I'm going to trim out these long pieces. And then this piece here in the back. So there's my cylinder. So again, because I want to copy horizontally, I'm going to turn my iso draft off, copy, window this, pick the corner, and move it over. Turn my ISO draft back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this skeleton that we used to actually build this with so that you can see that cylinder as it stands on its own. So here's the cylinder with the construction lines on it. Here's that cylinder as it stands on its own. Now, one of the reasons we leave these construction lines on until we're totally done, because if we need to measure this, if I measure across this center point, I'm okay. But if I measure from here down, I may not get the correct dimension. So that's why I want to use this corner right here to measure on. I'm going to turn my ISO draft off because I want to use this cube again. So we're going to copy, and I'm going to copy that cube. So I'm going to pick the lines for the cube so that I don't have to redraw them. Not like it's that hard to redraw, but it's here, so we'll use what we got. I'm going to pick the corner, and again, I'm going to pan over, hold my mouse button down, and select that corner. And we'll pick it one more time just in case I need to use it again, and then enter. I'm going to turn my ISO draft back on, so I'm back to my green and red cursor. Now what we want to look at is, what if we went around just this one corner as if there was a fillet there? So to do that, what we're going to do is we have to create some construction lines and find the center point for our ISO circle. So I'm going to go in the line command. I pick my corner. I'm going to flip my cursor so I'm on that top plane. And let's say let's make our fillet 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to draw that line 0.25 long. And then I'm going to drag my cursor this way, 0.25, and then enter. So I have a 0.25 line this way and a 0.25 line that way. If I were to go use that offset command and type in that 0.25, notice when I pick my line and I try to pick here, it does not go into the right spot because it's not geared to draw in this isometric mode that we're using. So that's why I didn't use the offset. So now I'm going to go into my ellipse, choose my ISO circle. This now becomes the center point for my ISO circle, and I'll pick that end because that's my radius. That's the 0.25. I'm going to trim, TR, enter, enter. I'll trim out that circle so I have just the curved part that I need to hold on to. And again, I'm going to copy. So instead of constructing all of that again, I'm going to copy it. So I pick it, and I'm going to copy it from this corner down to this corner. And notice that my O-snaps override. You saw it was trying to come out here. My O-snaps will override it. Then I'm going to draw a line to connect it. So again, from that quadrant point down to the quadrant point. And again, those O-snaps will override my cursor layout. So then what we're going to do is we're going to delete that little short line there. We'll delete this little short line here, and we're going to trim. So trim, trim, make sure you get in there and trim off that extra piece. And we're going to trim out that circle and this line. And this line also then gets deleted. So now you can see we have that curve. It kind of curves back away from us, and we're seeing kind of the tangent point of that curve as it curves away from us. Let's try the same thing on a corner that we're looking straight at. So we're going to go in the line command again, pick the corner, and in this case it doesn't matter which direction we go out first. We'll go this way, 0.25, we'll make it the same, and then this way, 0.25. And what we're finding, what we're trying to locate with that is we're locating the center point of our ellipse. So ellipse, ISO circle, pick the end point, pick the end point. Trim, TR, enter, enter, trim out. And in this case, we'll go ahead and trim. Notice it's not going to let me trim this one because I have that little piece of the short line there that I have to get rid of first. So then I can do a trim. Let's try that again. TR, enter, enter, and pick. And then this line's going to go away. Oh, but wait, I didn't do the curve at the bottom. So we're going to do a copy, pick the curve, and notice I can pick this corner and this corner and see where it goes. So it's down there where it needs to be. Now I can do that trim, pick, zoom back out, and notice now we have this curved here. We do not show the tangent points on that front curve as we're looking at it. We do not need to see those. So that's how we would curve off a corner if we were looking at it in that direction. Now, if we are looking at, let's say, this plane, it would work the same way. So let's do one more and try it out. So we're going to do a corner here. I'm going to take it across 0.25. Then I'm going to go down, so I got to flip my cursor, 0.25. Then I draw the ellipse, pick isocircle, pick the endpoint, pick the endpoint. Make sure you get the endpoint on that. And then trim. I trim out that isocircle. So if I want that same thing here, again, notice I can't do a mirror. I'll show you how that works. If I go to do that mirror command, and I pick midpoint here and midpoint here, look where my curve goes. So let me show you that one more time since I deleted out of it. We'll do a mirror, pick the curve, I pick the midpoint, looks like it's a straight line, right? Enter, but look where my curve actually shows up. So this is why we can't actually use that mirror command. It does not go along this new axis that we're working off of. So I'm going to create that. So I'm going to go into the line command, pick the corner, come across 0.25, come down 0.25, and we'll go in the ellipse. The bottom, pick isocircle, pick the end, and pick the end. And then I'll trim. Again, then what we're going to do is we're going to delete that little short line, delete the little short line. We're going to trim this piece off, this piece off. And if this right here, let's say in this case we went back just a little bit. So I deleted this line. I'm going to pick that corner. Let's go back, flip it. We'll go back a 0.5. Flip the cursor and go across this way. And I think our distance was 2 there. So let's say, and I'm going to move. So I'm making my box a little bit smaller. We'll move that line to there. So we'll delete that line. Oops, sorry. Pick that line and I'm going to delete it. So let's say our object was only this deep. So now what I can do, instead of reconstructing those, I'm going to go in the copy command, pick the arc, and actually I can pick the line too. Pick this corner, pick the back corner. I'm going to pick that line and delete it. And notice this line no longer is a valid line. So I'm going to go into the line command, pick that, come back here and pick this, and you'll see when I delete this line, do a trim that off, trim that off. This line actually is going to go away. So now you can see how we got that nice smooth curve there. So when we see that curve towards us, we are not going to see a line. When we see that curve away from us, we're going to see it kind of, think of it kind of as it bends around and we lose kind of like a horizon line. Whoops, I'm sorry. So we're going to do the line command and we'll pick, and then notice that I'm going to do a trim on this one to get rid of that piece. We'll trim that one and we'll delete that one. So then I can go ahead and delete these two lines, which are my center points. And now I got a nice curved edge there. All right, so the one that we're seeing close to us, we're not going to show those tangent points. As it curves away, we're seeing kind of that tangent point as it curves away, and we're kind of finishing that off. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do, and I'm going to move this just so that when I'm done I can show it to you so it's all closer together. So I'm going to do a move, we'll window this, we'll move that so it's a little closer. All right, the next one I want to show you is if we're drawing a line at an angle. So let me turn my ISO mode back on. We'll go in the line command. I'm going to flip my cursor so I'm on that left isoplane. See it? Left isoplane. Create a line. I'm going to go up to, I'm going to come over, let's come over 0.5. And let's assume from here there's going to be some sort of an angle. So we'll draw a line at the bottom. And this time let's go out 3. And we'll come up 0.5 on that also. So now I have a line that I need to connect from here to here at an angle. So I'm going to go line, endpoint to endpoint. So now I kind of have that front face, if you think of it that way. I'm going to do a line from one of these endpoints. It doesn't matter which one. We'll start here at the top. I want to go this way, so flip the cursor, and we'll go 2. And again, my numbers are just random numbers that I'm picking. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy, rather than reconstructing everything, we're going to copy it all. And I'm going to copy from corner to corner. Notice I didn't copy the line that went down. And really I didn't need to copy this line either. So we'll just pick that and delete it. Now I'm going to copy again. And I'm going to pick this line. And we're going to copy from end to end to end to end. And again, you could have drawn it just as easy. And that's how we get that angled line in there. So we find where the end point is, we find the other end point, and then we just connect it with an angled line from point to point. So I'm going to turn my OSNAT or ISO mode off again. I'm going to do a move. We'll pick this guy. We'll move him over here so we can see him a little better. Move him over a little bit so I can zoom in on them all. Now, obviously, if this is a lecture, I'd ask if anyone had questions. But here's our kind of family of isometrics. Here's our block with our isocircles. Here's how we use that isocircle to create a cylinder. Here's how we use those isocircles to create those filleted corners. Here's how we use that isocircle to create those filleted corners on a front face. And here's how we create that line. So you'll see in the book, in the D2L, you'll see the assignments in there. And feel free to email me if you have any questions.